Hey guys, it's your boy Valdo, and today we're doing a comparison between Chain Reaction, Sunblast, and if you have neither. The point behind this test is to kind of clarify one of the biggest strengths of being a saboteur, which is having Chain Reaction, and the biggest letdown is not having it. So, we're going to kind of show that today. Before I even get started, just to show you guys my passive tree so that we're on the same page, I inspect out of my trigger AoE notes, which are these three and this note here. The rest of the items or the rest of the stuff on this build do not give trap trigger AoE. They merely give trap throwing speed, and even then there's very little here. So there's nothing influencing this build right now. I'm actually going to take out this hair trigger jewel here, and what we're going to do the test with right now is we're going to do nothing. There's nothing on my build, and oh, I guess most importantly, I've unspec'd out of chain reaction. So yeah, and we'll just get started here. We're going to go to the blood aqueduct super quick. And I guess the reason I'm making this anyways is to kind of show the the viability of trappers outside of said trap. So what I'm gonna do, we're actually just gonna use fire trap. I have a really strange build going on here, but we're just gonna use fire trap for clarity so that we're not throwing too many traps. So we'll just get started. Oh shit! Sorry, wrong trap. Wrong trap. Okay, so as you guys can see, the traps do go off. Most of these mobs are dying pretty much on hit, and as you can see, there's no real issue here with some of them that don't die. Again, with this particular trap, it does have burning ground. But really what I'm asking you guys to pay attention to is not really if the enemies die, because this fire trap isn't even the highest level, and this build isn't meant for fire trap. What you're actually looking at is really the enemies or the traps basically left over, which are none. Um, and this is super smooth actually. It's like we're not even running trap trigger AoE. We're not running any trap. We're not running chain reaction or sunblast. So as you can see here, it's pretty smooth, very easy. Traps go off, no big deal. And this is actually my, I guess, the point I'm trying to make, and I'll show you in a moment with Sunblast why I think Sunblast is kind of a it's not the best in the game, but I will explain where it has its strengths and where really its big letdown and weaknesses. Just gonna get through this. Cool, but I guess you guys see the point, so we'll just go back. And now we're gonna switch to Sunblast and to chain reaction. Not sorry, not chain reaction. Cheap constructions. So cheap construction, cheap construction. Gonna take this belt off, and so now no trap trigger AOE. All we have is chain. We have no chain reaction. We just have sunblast. So we'll give this a try. Oops. Okay. Oops. Sorry, guys. Okay. So here, like I said, oh, I guess to show for clarity, we throw the trap, detonates instantly. After 0.5 seconds of arming, they detonate instantly. So essentially the ones that don't get triggered by the enemy still go off within 0.5 seconds, which is really nice. As I've said before, trap arming speed is 0.5 seconds, and the current duration of this particular trap is... Oh, the mod is removed. I'll show you guys in a moment. So normally when you look at a trap, it'll tell you the duration of the trap before it triggers, which is 4 seconds. But I've reduced it to 0, so it doesn't even show in the tooltip. And we'll just clear a couple more packs to kind of solidify Sunblast as being probably the best case scenario in terms of your traps triggering. But if you guys didn't notice, it isn't very different in terms of like I guess the clear speed or the traps going off or not. There is a slight bit of bias here, And that only bias is that we are in a hallway-based map, which traps normally excel in. I might do like a video of me clearing another map. I actually cleared a ton of maps like this because I did this test earlier, and I killed, I think, what did I do? I did a beachhead map. I did, I wish I had recorded it. I'm sorry, guys. I did a beachhead map, and I did Zoff's domain like 3 times without chain reaction or sunblast. I just did it to see kind of the quality of life change and how I felt about it. It was fine. Of course, I didn't use fire trap. I used a volatile dead detonate dead trapper build. That's actually what I ran last league. But yeah, okay. So you guys kind of see Sunblast triggers very nicely, very cleanly. But if you probably didn't notice, the traps before this were just fine. So in my opinion, and you can run this back as many times as you need to, I'm not seeing a difference. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to take chain reaction, and we're going to remove the Sunblast and put on my sexy belt here. Take off these cheap constructions, even though they really don't make a difference. Oh, and this. You'll notice the mod there that says trap lasts 3.6 seconds. And as I change my items, that mod is going to change. So now it's trap lasts 0.4 seconds. And if I put in my final cheap construction, the mod removes because it doesn't have a duration anymore. Okay, now let's do the Sunblast. I mean the chain reaction here. So this is chain reaction, nothing else. No trap trigger AoE either. And again, guys, as you're noticing, very little difference, very little variance on this particular skill. Shit, honestly, if I just probably showed you these 3 runs back to back and did not tell you which of them had chain reaction or sunblast or whatever, you probably couldn't tell. Traps triggering in this particular situation of clearing is not difficult. It is not a hardship for many builds. Now, builds that it starts to suffer are builds like this. In this build, I have to throw my Desecrate Trap, and then I have to throw my Volatile Dead Trap. And so, through chain reaction, they all go off. And that's a lot of traps that have to go off. That's actually 8 traps that have to go off in order for this to work. Because the less traps that go off, the worse. Boom. And they just clear the next pack. I didn't have to throw that. So, on this type of build, I would recommend either of the previous solutions, chain reaction or sunblast, because you do need your traps to go off so you can get the desecrate, which then works with VD. So it's kind of a big deal. But yeah, that's generally the difference. I honestly feel like it's been kind of overstated that either of those mechanics are super powerful. Don't get me wrong, they are. They make a big difference. And oh yeah, that's what I meant to talk about. Where do they excel? So Sunblast excels on builds where the trap triggering itself is all that's required. I'll show you like this. So in this build, I throw this trap, right? This is my Desecrate trap. So this build requires Desecrate, and then after the Desecrate, you throw your Volatile Dead trap, and they go off, right? Or in this case, I use Detonate Dead. But it's super annoying that if some of these don't go off, then my DD or my VD traps are useless. They do nothing. They literally just disappear. So chain reaction is nice because they both go off pretty much at the same time. Now the best case scenario is Detonate Dead, is Sunblast, because with Sunblast, I don't even have to hit the enemy. The boss could be on the other side of the room, and I'm just doing this. Sorry, wrong one. And this is me, just stacking these up, right? And then when the boss comes around, they just destroy his ass. So that is kind of a situation where Sunblast is very powerful. Now, I guess really the point I'm making here is this. Particular trap builds that are not traditional trap builds can take advantage of Sunblast's duration reducing. The problem, Sunblast requires 1 slot of your item, which gives you a shit ton of life. So here I've got over like 150-ish life, which is super nice. The problem is that life is gone with Sunblast. Instead, I just get some trap damage, mana regen, whatever, so on and so forth. What's got to be cool later is taking this Sunblast and corrupting it, but that's another story. The point I'm making is Sunblast is situational. It is a situational unique. In some boss related scenarios, you would want to have something like Sunblast if you're not a Sab, or higher trap trigger area of effect, which you can get on the tree super easily. And by that, I mean, look how much trap trigger AoE you get. You can get these 3 points here, right? And these are high trap trigger AoE and trap throwing speed. These are really underrated nodes in my eyes. I think these are some of the best nodes that have ever existed in terms of trap trigger AoE. And this is the full package. Look at that. Trap trigger AoE, trap throwing speed. Like, what doesn't this have? And then, of course, this, which is also quite good. And here you can pick your poison, throwing speed, or area of effect. And so in terms of chain reaction is technically a weaker version of Sunblast, because chain reaction requires other traps to go off for this to go off. So that isn't a bad thing. It's just that it is essentially, I guess, if you were to compare them, chain reaction is like 9 out of 10 in terms of how good it is, whereas Sunblast is 10 out of 10. How much different is that one? How much different is the 99% to the 100% chance of your traps going off? You know what I mean? So yeah, a lot of the times for clearing and quality of life, chain reaction and Sunblast do add a level and a layer to that, but they aren't the end of. It's not the end of the world if they don't go off, because more often than not, packs will trigger them all anyways. So um, I just wanted to show this because I think a lot of players are under the impression that if they don't go Sab, they're going to have a shitty time with traps. And I think a lot of players are under the impression that the only solution to that is Sunblast. I definitely do not agree with that. I feel like neither of them are required. And then to move on to my next topic, the Shaper Gloves. I guess to show more in depth, I'm just going to actually pull up my Path of Building spreadsheet here, because it will explain quite nicely um, the misconception here. So with these gloves, ignore everything else you're seeing. So with these Shaper Gloves, people are basically saying, oh, well, if I use these Shaper Gloves, or if I don't use these Shaper Gloves, say I use a unique pair, another rare pair, slave drivers, whatever, oh, well, where's my 5 and my free 6, 7, 8, 9 link, or 6, 7, 8 link, whatever people are saying. I'm here to tell you that that is not true. You can achieve about a 6 link, maybe a 7 link. Most case scenarios, you're going to just get a 5 to 5.5 link out of your gloves. And I guess I'll just show you why. Let's say I make these gloves and we shape them. Your prefix only has one relative trap related skill, and that is slower projectiles. If the trap is a projectile, you can take this as a link, right? But again, that's very limited. Not all skills can take slower projectiles as a slightly more damage multiplier. This is kind of a moot point, but it can be done. Say for ball lightning, lightning trap, spark traps, stuff like that. Now, this is where it gets weird. The suffixes are a lot of them, and you'd be almost under the impression that, wow, look at all these, I can take them all. That's not the case. If I take any of these, the ones left over are blind and faster casting. This is mutually exclusive mods. That means the mods that are relative to traps will overshadow the other ones and make them unpickable. I'll show you here. Let's say I take this standalone trap one, and all of a sudden, the other mods are no longer in the mod pool to roll. So now all of a sudden, we've gone from like, oh, well, this can be like an 8 link, 9 link to, no, actually, that's 4, 5, 6 link here. And this is a pretty subpar 6th link. Very subpar 6th link. And then the trap jewel rolls 18 to 22. The only thing bringing these gloves in line, making them extremely powerful, are, you'll notice it's a trap cooldown that gives increased trap damage for both of these, or one that gives trap throwing speed, and then you have one that is just the level with trap and trap damage. This is not shown on here. You're not going to see this from what I'm showing you. This standalone mod here It doesn't say it gives you anything, but it enables throws an additional trap. What that means is when you throw an additional trap, I'm sorry, whenever you throw traps from this gloves, instead of say, let's say you just throw one, you'll throw two. You throw cluster traps, you throw five. So that's really nice and actually quite powerful if you get them all to go off at once. So that's a huge damage multiplier for pretty much any trap skill. But I guess the real subject here is that I'm just going to show you the best possible ones, and one of these will be imaginary. And this is also for a very specific skill like cremation. This doesn't matter. And multiplier. So, oh, fuck it. We're just gonna slap some fucking life on here. Gonna throw some evasion rating and life on here. Just throwing a random resistance. Fuck it. Okay, so there's just one thing I need you guys to imagine when you look at these gloves. Is it says level 20 slower proj. That's a link. So 4 links from the gloves, 5 for slower proj. Level 22 trap is a 6th link. And then crit multiplier is arguably less than crit multi-jewel, so it's like a 6.6 link, right? One that's missing is the additional trap, which you can roll. It is extremely rare and difficult to get, but if you're willing to pay for it, you can achieve it very easily by just paying for it. And so that would mean this is almost a 7-link glove. But this is a very difficult to get with resistances and stuff like that on it. So I believe in the next expansion with some of our newer mods from corruption and all these other new things entering the pool of mods, this will become even less over centralizing. I don't think these are perfect or the most required gloves. They are a increase to damage, but a small amount. But yeah, I guess really all I'm saying is that these are not as big of a deal as some people are making them, but they do make a big difference, especially if you're using a projectile-based skill. But again, guys, if you're using a projectile space, if you're not using projectiles, then boom, all of a sudden you're kind of stuck. You're stuck at a super subpar 6-link. Maybe sometimes a really good 6-link if you can get the crit multi and the additional trap. But no traditional more damage multipliers. These are kind of inconsistencies here. So now that I have this, I'm not using a projectile trap anymore. All of a sudden, I don't have a 6th link. Really, I have like a fancy 5-link with a 70% crit multi and an additional trap. So the point I'm trying to make, these are not that serious, and just clearing up some of the aura here. And again, guys, this is my opinion. Just trying to help some of the other players out who aren't aware to kind of understand how these mods work, and just demystifying some of the facts here, or fake news, if you will. So that's kind of the idea. I kind of personally feel like traps are going to be hitting the limelight, and so I wanted to make sure everyone kind of went into it educated on some of these little things. And yeah. So if anything I didn't cover or something wasn't clear enough, guys, let me know in the comments. And I guess to roll back a little bit to kind of summarize my thoughts. Chain Reaction and Sunblast are powerful mechanics to allow traps to trigger securely. They are not that powerful as shown in the test here on this video. Look through it as many times as you need. One of the biases that I am aware of in this test is the hallways. This hallway mechanic where all the enemies are bunched up like that would not matter for quite a few traps that are projectiles, especially lightning trap and all that. And Chain Reaction is still powerful. But besides that, that's kind of the only thing working against it. If you're doing single target, yeah, it can be kind of weird, but Trap Trigger AoE fixes that as well. Trap Trigger AoE fixes quite a bit of it, and then so does trap throwing speed, because that's more traps that you have a higher chance of triggering. So yeah, all I'm saying is this: one of the most over centralizing mechanics that would, some people would think, oh, Chain Reaction is a huge quality of life, Sunblast is a huge quality of life. Yeah, it's really not in my opinion. I think by a long shot people are overestimating these mechanics. But I am not disqualifying them either. They are powerful mechanics, and you should look at them as prime examples. Also, Saboteur is also very powerful for other reasons: cooldown reduction, tons of AoE on the class. So just kind of say that really quick. This is just one more reason, besides trap throwing speed and slave driver hand, that allows you to choose another class. Um, and I guess about the trap gloves, they are still very powerful. Still invest in them. They're great, but they are not the end all be all. Don't feel salty if you're not running them. If you're running a different glove or slave drivers, don't feel bad. If you're using a projectile trap, what are you doing? Get these gloves, get that slower proj, just get it. But besides that, guys, thank you for watching. If you guys have any other additional questions, hit me up, let me know, and let me know how I'm doing. Ciao.